Order. The time is precisely 5:30 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This meeting is officially open with a quorum present. At this time, we will hear public comment addressing items solely on this agenda. Please let me remind you that because of restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal exchange about a subject that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes, but the board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with 1, a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry, 2, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or 3, direct the person to visit with staff about the issue. While this board listens to concerns of a general nature, speakers should practice normal rules of decorum. Vulgar language and profanity will not be tolerated, as this is a public meeting and our students are watching. Additionally, disruptions of the meeting will not be tolerated. We ask the audience to refrain from interrupting speakers while they present to the board during this portion of the meeting and any other portion of the meeting. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. No presentation may exceed 3 minutes unless the speaker has prior approval for additional time because of the use of a translator. Speakers who require the assistance of a translator are permitted double the allotted time of speakers who do not require the assistance of a translator. As soon as a speaker begins speaking, the time clock will start. Furthermore, a speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another speaker. It is essential to gain as much public input as possible. And this board understands that together we are stronger and build better solutions when we maximize public input. I ask that you please observe these rules for the purpose of effectively accomplishing the business of the meeting in a timely manner. Our first speaker is Ali Cheka. Second speaker will be John Holdridge. Mr. Holdridge.
I'm John Holdridge. I live in the Meadowbrook area of Fort Worth. I put 5 kids through high school, Eastern Hills and Dunbar. That was a few years ago. I want to speak to the process of finding another superintendent and finding a search team. Tom Sowell is a Black American economist, historian, and social theorist. He was educated at Harvard, University of Chicago, Howard University, and is a senior fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institute. He has written 36 books in his 90-plus years over a wide range of subjects, including education. Possibly you've read some of his books. His statistical research debunks the theory that success in education and life is determined by genetics, cultural bias, and income level. So why are serious historians so afraid to disagree with Nicole Hannah-Jones, author of the 1619 Project, who has never written a book or any other academic paper, let alone any history of slavery? Is it because they don't want to be branded as racist or sexist by the intellectual elites? Thomas Sowell separates himself from these intellectual cowards by standing for the truth with courage. So what makes America unique is not slavery, but emancipation. It is how fast we went from slavery to Martin Luther King Jr. to a black president. This economic and social progress of Black Americans in only a few generations is something unmatched by recorded history. Sowell would often be asked how it felt to go against the grain of so many other blacks. He would often respond by changing the premise of the question. You mean I go against the grain of most black intellectuals and black elites, but they don't represent most blacks any more than white intellectuals represent most whites. In summary, Fort Worth parents don't want Fort Worth ISD teaching their young children about gender and racial identity in a skewed version of American history. Just teach our kids and grandkids the 3 R's, give them the proper education, and leave the rest to their parents. Otherwise, you risk losing more gifted students to charter and private schools where they are exceeding academic goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carrie Raymeyer will be followed by Dr. Michael Bell. Is Dr. Michael Bell here? Joe Palmer, Angie Blake, Todd Daniel, Amy Super, Michael C. Amy Super, would you like to go before Mr. C? Great, thank you.
Good evening. I come before you to offer my input regarding your decision as to which of the firms you'll vote to conduct the search for our new superintendent. I take this decision very seriously, and I find that in looking at the scant number of attendees meeting here tonight, I'm disappointed to see that perhaps others share my view that in light of recent incidents taking place during meetings, that you are responsible for maintaining reasonable order for among not just the public attendees, but also your own staff and board of trustees. I, as well as others, find the environment to be hostile in both passive and aggressive ways, unpredictable in terms of enforcement of the established rules set by the board, and have even felt unsafe as a result of your inability to maintain order. I hope others will grow to find that not to be the case and that they will continue to come back to meetings. I, as well as others, and not just those who share my views, want to feel as if our input is truly being considered and that we all feel comfortable and safe when attending meetings hosted by the Fort Worth ISD School Board. With regards to the vote tonight, I highly encourage you to base your decisions with the greatest emphasis placed on evaluating the track record of each superintendent placed by each firm within the last 10 years, as measured by significant improved student outcomes, as reflected by standardized student testing, graduation rates, as well as positive recommendations by the parents and community members who live within each of the ISDs each firm has placed a superintendent in. I also ask that you reach deep to come up with more innovative ways to receive input from every part of Fort Worth ISD's community, to include those community members outside of those who are employed by the district, those on board-appointed committees, and you, our elected district board trustees. Let us all truly have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael C. Mike C.
I want to thank Mr. Ricky Clark for the last meeting's entertainment. Clearly, this was an attempt to intimidate, and from my perspective, he organized. The cast of characters started off with the anti-Semitic Nation of Islam. Also in the cast of characters were antagonists throughout the audience, muttering white privilege and various insults. With this racist behavior, I insist the board look into the possible ties with Ricky Clark and any board members who are possibly collaborating with Ricky Clark's attempts of intimidating parents with anti-Semitic or Marxist groups. Furthermore, it's my opinion that Ricky Clark should not be on any school campus grooming or teaching militancy to children. Lastly, we have the issue to start anew and fresh in the purview of choosing a new superintendent. The current board and administration appears to be flooded with leftists. There is no diversity there. I recommend a panel be formed of a more ideologically diverse group in the final decision who is hired for the Fort Worth ISD superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back through the list. Carrie Reimeyer. Dr. Michael Bell. Joe Palmer. Angie. Thank you. Angie Blake. Great. And Joe Palmer just walked in. So, Ms. Blake, if you could go, and then Mr. Palmer, would you be next, please?
Hi, it's Angie Blake again. I feel like a broken record every time I have to spend my time and energy coming to these meetings. I feel as if we say the same things over and over, and you guys all remind me of my ex-husband who just didn't listen to a thing I said and then was surprised when things went awry. Listen, the main thing we're talking about tonight is which firm you all are going to give several thousands of dollars to in order to find a new superintendent for Fort Worth ISD. Here's my question. Why are we hiring an outside firm to begin with? Has anyone ever heard of LinkedIn? You guys have an HR department. Do you not trust your own employees? Why are you spending all this money to hire an outside firm who will probably go to LinkedIn? Can HR not conduct interviews with superintendents? Just look at what we got last time you hired an outside firm to get us a superintendent. Please tell me the same firm is not in the running this time. Scribner is leaving 2 years early with a cool mill in his pocket from us taxpayers who just keep paying through the nose for stupid crap like this to continue going on every day. Why don't you hire me to find a superintendent? I can't do any worse. Here's what I would look for and what qualities should be in a superintendent. We need someone who's honest, open, and transparent, someone who values not only children, but the families that they come from, someone who values the individual child and does not lump them into a box based on their skin color, someone who knows there's only 2 genders, but they should have separate bathrooms, someone who does not want to sexualize our children, someone who does not want to victimize our children, someone who knows child pornography is bad, someone who values the parents who give up their evenings and their free time to come to meetings to try to help improve the learning environment of all the children. If you ask any teachers if they would rather have a parent who wants the school to be the parent or wants the parent to be involved, they're going to say they want the involved parent. And yet you guys take us parents who've worked all day, gone through rush hour traffic, skipped dinner, come here to talk to you about improving our children's education, and you throw us out because we laugh too loud. That's a problem. There are a lot of issues right here, and a lot of them are on top of the parents and the decisions that you guys make. Maybe you need to think about that.
Time.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Tonight we're going to consider firms for selecting a superintendent. I understand that the firm that gave us Superintendent Scribner is not in the running, and I'm grateful for that. The current superintendent is evidence enough of why we would not want to consider the same consulting firm. It has cost us 5 years so far of student performance. According to TEA, over the last 5 years, student performance has plummeted, and the performance of minority students, as acknowledged by a school board member, has also plummeted. And that was one of the focuses of the superintendent, was the performance of minority students. Utter failure. I echo the call to let HR do the review and do the selecting of a superintendent. This school district is outstanding at presenting awards to staff, and I presume that you have utmost confidence in your HR department. How many interviews has the head of HR conducted in his or her career? Let's have confidence in that. Let's save some money and get a good outcome. If you are going to choose a consulting firm, I want a firm that is going to incorporate a criteria of integrity in the selecting process. And what I mean by that is, again, citing the current superintendent who went around the school district advocating and pushing and selling the bond and giving inaccurate information about the tax rate and about the tax impact on the people. And all I can say about that to conclude with that subject is I can't wait for appraisals to come out. People are going to want answers from you people, and I can't wait to give them to them. I would also like them to include in their criteria an aspect of past position performance. We've already talked about the utter failure in reference to the student performance over the last 5 years. We will never get those 5 years back. What are you going to tell those kids? What are you going to tell their parents? They have no financial literacy about them whatsoever. They've learned about feelings. They've learned about race. They know what color they are. And they know what that means and how that indicates their value their skin color, as if we live in the 1960s anymore. As I said, it's cost us over 5 years. Integrity. I think we need a superintendent who is going to answer questions directly and not evasively. And I'm not just talking about questions asked by taxpayers at bond presentation meetings. I'm talking about questions asked by reporters. For example, the Texas Tribune, when he had Superintendent Hinojosa and Superintendent Scribner for a forum, Superintendent Scribner was asked by the esteemed journalist, how much has the COVID pandemic cost to the school district? How many how many additional costs? Superintendent Scribner evaded that question. He talked about the funding that we received. He was asked a second time, he was pressed, and he still did not provide it. If you're going to waste money on a consulting firm, pick a consulting firm that's going to give us a better superintendent than you have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie Raymeyer. Dr. Michael Bell. Todd Daniel. I want to thank each of you for sharing your thoughts this evening. The time is precisely 5:46 p.m. The date is Tuesday, April 12, 2022. This board will now recess and reconvene for executive session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code under Chapters 551, 071, 2, 4, and 6.
See what Twitter says. You think we have time to beat it?
In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 PM with a quorum present, recessed and reconvened. Open session, adjourned regular session, convened executive session, adjourned executive session. Now we've reconvened open session at 7 PM with a quorum present. Let's move to the action agenda item, discussion and consideration for action to engage a superintendent search firm. Dr. Ramos, do you have a motion?
I do. Thank you, President Jackson. I'll make a motion that we enter into negotiation. Is that the word? Which one do we go with, Ms. Newby? That we enter into negotiations with HYA to conduct our superintendent search.
And I'd like to make a second. Motion by Dr. Ramos, second by Toby Jackson. Do we have any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, please move to voting. And the motion passes unanimously, and we will now adjourn at 7:03 PM.